Hello, hi. All right, I'd like to share with you this Bible study lesson that I did. And I actually went through it shortly after I recorded the previous one where I was talking about fixing your mind on things that are good, true, noble, and honorable. And so after I recorded that, I said, well, let me go ahead and proceed to the next Bible study lesson. And I'm using this guide through the Faith, what is this by Word of Life Bible Institute. This thing is 20 years old, but it's still in good shape. It was lost and then it was found, and I'm using it. Yay! All right, so I just want to share with you this lesson that I learned. So like I said, after recording that video where I was talking about, fixing your mind on these things that are good, true, and noble to help you to have, the peace of God, and thinking about Paul's example of what he did, and learning from him and the peace of God, being with you. So like, okay, I got this. I'm practicing this. I'm really, really trying to practice fixing my mind. So I recorded the video. I'm like, okay, I'm sharing this and we're on the right track. So I proceed on to the next lesson, and this was in 2 Thessalonians 1 through 5. So in this one, it actually bleeds over a little bit to 1 through 6. And so as I was reading it, I'm like, oh, this is very interesting. So the key message I got from this that really caught my attention, like I said, on the same day after I did this, it's going somewhere, was endurance and faithfulness. And it's like the notes I have on here, the keys to surviving persecution and trials are endurance and faithfulness. So in the second Thessalonians, Paul is encouraging these Thessalonians who are going through so much persecution and trials to endure. And I love how this letter starts off. He is such a great example of an encourager. These are things that we can learn to share and model, even being an encourager to our children, to our spouses, to our friends. Look at how Paul was encouraging. And I'm like, I am inspired. You're my leader. I'm going to follow how you're doing it. So anyhow, I'll just quickly read, and I'm reading through the New Living Translation. I know this doesn't read like the NIV Bible verses, but it helps me in understanding, and I often go back and cross-check. So so now I'll go ahead and read it, and I'm trying to do this without my glasses, right? Like, this isn't the best idea, but we're going to try this. All right, so dear brothers and sisters, we always thank God for you, as is right, for we are thankful that your faith is flourishing and you are growing in love for each other. Okay, I just got to acknowledge that. He acknowledged to them that, he was thankful that their faith is flourishing and they are growing in love with each other. Just pause and think, what it would be like if you can encourage someone and just acknowledge that they're growing in their faith and you're thankful that they're flourishing in their faith and they're growing in their love for others. If you see your children do it, highlight to them, I see you flourishing in your faith, and I see that, you're growing in your love for others. So these are some things that even I'm trying to practice and apply. All right. And so he's saying that. And then he said, we proudly tell God's other churches about your endurance and faithfulness in all the persecution and hardship you are suffering. And I'm like, wow, they really were suffering a lot of persecution and hardship. I mean, we have some challenges facing us, but the things they were going through were really, really tough. I mean, we always got to keep perspective, okay? And I think about the Maslow hierarchy of needs. It starts off with, you think that water isn't such a big need, but once one need is satisfied, then you have another strong need. So anyhow, that's more of the psychology study. But here he was just saying that I like that he was, saying that we're proudly telling other churches about your endurance and faithfulness and all the persecution and hardship you're suffering. The fact that he was, proudly telling others, go back to your people that you're leading and just let them know, hey, I'm proudly letting people know what you're doing. And I know it's not easy, but I know that is such an encouraging message. All right, so now back to the persecution and the trials. We'll have to finish telling the story. Okay, and so here it goes on in 5. He said, but God will use this persecution to show his justice, for he will make you worthy of his kingdom for which you are suffering. And in his justice, he will punish those who persecute you. And then it goes on to 7. And God will provide rest for you who are being persecuted, and also for us when the Lord Jesus appears from heaven. I tell you, this is so much peace. It gives me a lot of peace in reading this. It helps me to stay strong in faith, and just knowing that, God sees my endurance and faithfulness, and he He will make me worthy of his kingdom for which I'm suffering and the justice. He will punish those who persecute you, and then he will provide rest for you who are being persecuted. I'm like, wow, this is, this is good. It's really comforting to my soul, my spirit, and just reading this. And like I said, keep in perspective of what they were going through then compared to what I'm going through now. Like, whoa, it ain't, back off, relax, okay? So here, I'll go through the notes at the bottom. It's saying that the keys to surviving persecution and trials are endurance and faithfulness. And I thought, yep, I get it, and I like how this is pointed out. And when we are faced with crushing troubles, we can have faith that God is using our trials for our good and for his glory. He's using our trials for our good and for his glory. Knowing that God is fair and just will give us patience in our sufferings because we know that he has not forgotten us. That's very good. It's really comforting in knowing that he hasn't forgotten us and he is fair and just. So he knows what's going on and he's going to handle it. Let him handle it. He'll handle it, okay? But it's just comforting to know that we're not alone and he hasn't forgotten us, even though physically we look like we're in a room all by ourselves and we are alone, but we're not alone. He is with us, And so then, what was I saying? I'm getting off track. In God's perfect timing, he will relieve our suffering and punish those who persecute us. So can you trust God's timing? Can you trust God's timing? And then one more note that I got from this too is while waiting for God's kingdom, believers could and should learn perseverance and faith from their suffering. So remember, during this suffering, God hasn't forgotten about us. He is with us. He is fair and just, and he will take care of those who try to hurt you. He will get them. He'll get them. Don't worry about it. You just keep doing your good stuff and doing what's right. And I tell you, you'll be blessed in the process, and it will continue to encourage your spirit. You'll be going through the storm, and just let God handle it in his timing, okay? And then your troubles, what was I going to say about this? Our problems can help us look upward and forward instead of inward, and they can build strong character, and they can provide us with opportunities to comfort others who are also struggling. So later on, as you get through this, you can begin to share and comfort others, okay? So this reading that I went through is in 2 Thessalonians 1 through, I went through, it's supposed to be 1 through 5, but we went over a bit into 6. So you can go back and reference that. So I just want to encourage you to stay strong in faith. I know we're going to have struggles and persecution and trials and sufferings is part of it, but God is working in us. He is fair and just. And what else is this note say down here? Knowing that he is fair and just will give us patience in our, knowing that he's fair and just will give us patience in our sufferings because we know that he hasn't forgotten about us. God hasn't forgotten about us. Let him fight your battles. The battle is not yours. That's Yolanda Adams' song. The battle is not yours. It's the Lord. I don't sing, but find that song. It's a really good song. And just trust God's timing. And he will bless you. He will pull you through the storm. And he will continue to keep you up. All right. So I am done with this message. Wow, I'm about to cry because I so believe this. And so in my situation that came out, I talked about earlier, I felt that I had been persecuted over a decision that I made. I'm like, okay, this is a trial. It's not so easy to just speak. But I did, what gave me comfort during that situation is just saying that God is fair and just, and he knows what happened. He knows my heart was pure. He understands, things that I may not be able to communicate, but in his timing, things will work out. And to God be the glory. It all worked out. We resolved everything. We got an understanding of different perspectives and how the situation came up. Good conflict resolution. And I can just say I give God glory. And I could have got, caught up in the emotions of it all and got hot-headed. And it could have led to a whole lot of other things. But this scripture, knowing that we need to be faithful and endure, and know that he's fair and just, and he hasn't forgotten about us and his timing, it really helped me to just relax and stay strong in faith. So I encourage you guys, stay strong in faith. It's not always easy, but God is with you. He gives you the grace and strength to do it. All right. Hugs, love, and blessings. Wow, this is really coming from my heart. I'm like ready to cry. All right, love you. Let me know if you have any questions. There's so many more messages in here I want to share. All right, so stay strong in faith. God bless you. Bye-bye.